Charles Soule and Ramon Rosanas take the Operation Starlight story to a personal place as Leia and Kes Dameron share stories about their respective loved ones, learning something new about each other and even about themselves. Charles Soule delivers a really awesome issue that puts the larger Starlight story on the back burner for a while so we can get some great little stories featuring Han Solo and Shara Bey. I really enjoyed getting to know Kes even more than previous issues since we got a lot of his backstory here as well as that of his families, even giving us the first canonical time Leia meets Poe Dameron, even though it's in a hologram form. I did enjoy Kes and Leia bonding over how their respective partners were completely different from who they were as people and who they saw themselves being with, and I liked the little in-universe things about everyone really being obvious to the fact that Leia and Han love each other very much, except they can't see it. It's kind of a trope, but I really like that sort of stuff. I did enjoy Han's little story that helped explain how his relationship with Leia works and how, despite all he says, Han is very much a rebel and an inspiration to others in the rebellion, which was really cool. Ramon Rosanas steps in on the art side of things this issue, and while it doesn't do anything groundbreaking and special, I really enjoyed getting to go back to Hoth in his art, and getting to see the Falcon and Han Solo again were really great. Star Wars issue 12 was a really awesome, slower issue that focused on some currently missing characters in the story, giving them some great backstory and showing just how much they mean to the rebellion and to the people who love them. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Star Wars issue 12 heads to the Rebel fleet, where Kes Dameron learns they haven't been any more signals from Shara or anyone else out there. He tells the comms officer to continue to let him know if something does happen, as Leia meanwhile ponders what she will do on the observation deck, remembering the last time she saw Han Solo on Bespin, and she knows she won't give up hope as Kes comes by, not realizing that anyone was actually there. She tells Kes to come in, getting him to call her Leia instead of General Organa like he always does. She says that she comes there when things are quiet for a moment or two. Kes says he does that as well, but he watches the space battles from there since he's a ground pounder and there's not much he can do in space other than keep an eye on Shara. Leia learns that there is still no word from the fighter pilot, but she knows Shara is a survivor and she'll be okay. Leia asks that since they aren't in a space battle now, what does Kes do while he's on the observation deck? Getting a hologram pad out, he says that while it's a little dumb, he talks to a hologram of his son. He shows Leia the hologram of his son, saying that he tells him stories about his mother and what's going on in the world. He knows it's a little silly since it's just a hologram photo and he can't transmit to his son since they're in hiding, but it's the best he can do. Leia doesn't find that silly, learning the boy's name is Poe and he's a beautiful disaster of a child and always been a handful since he was born, just like his mother. Leia likes that phrase, a beautiful disaster, since she's got one of her own on her own hands. She puts it into the back of her mind, saying Kes mentions Shara, wondering if he's got a story to tell about her, wondering how they met. Kes knows that that's a good story, as years prior on Galator 3, Kes and a few of his friends pulled all of their money together to hit the betting pools on the planet for a few days to celebrate his friend's marriage. Soon coming down to his last few credits, he decided to place it on a race, placing a 7-credit bet on a single crest racer, having heard the stories about the crest racing sports from the planet. They gather to watch as the race begins, and his pilot takes the lead through the icy canyon track, where one racer soon dies in a fiery wreck when it hits the wall. Soon only 2 races are left as they head towards the death chute, causing both racers to try and vie for the first spot through the chute. Kes's pilot manages to gun their engines at the right time and sail through the chute as the green ship slides off the track. Kes knows that the pilot won the race by bravery and skill and not backing down, and he couldn't believe he won, picking up his winnings before heading down to the track to meet the pilot. Kes tells him that it was an incredible race and that he is surprised to learn that the pilot is a woman. The woman asks why the man picked her since she's pretty new to the circuit. Kes thought her name, Shara Bey, was cool, introducing himself as Shara wonders if he will buy her a drink now that he's flush with credits. Leia finds that quite a great story, but Kes knows that at the time Shara was just burning off a post-win high, but he needs to look at what they have become now, married with a child and saving the galaxy, so it's not all that bad. Kes knows that the beautiful disaster Leia talked about previously is just Han Solo, knowing it's not such a large rebellion and people talk about how they both both fought like a couple of Tuca cats, but it wasn't real fighting, more like they were trying to communicate with one another. But also Lando told them everything about the carbonite and the kiss her and Han shared on Bespin. Leia contemplates throwing Lando out of an airlock to shut him up for once, but Kes knows that it's none of his business, only that Han and Leia seem like very different people. Leia agrees on that, but it's hard to explain, wanting to tell him a story. Leia says that while they were back on Hoth, Han would never shut up about the cold. Back on the planet, Han moans about how setting up a base on Hoth was a stupid idea and he'd rather be anywhere, even Tatooine. Leia asks if Kes remembers the days the heaters on the base failed because Han did, thanks to how cold it got, thanks to the heaters dying in the middle of the night, meaning the temperature plummeted, forcing Leia, who was in command at the time since Mon Mothma and the others were off base, to squeeze everyone they could aboard all of the ships, which meant keeping Tauntauns aboard the Falcon, something Han was definitely not happy with, but Leia knows that it won't change how the Falcon smelled already. Soon a transmission comes through and Leia goes to take it in the Falcon's cockpit, frustrating Han even more. Taking the call, Leia learns that the engineers were able to repurpose an old YT Starship's reactor to restore powers to levels 4 to 8. But the problem is it doesn't work well since this particular reactor doesn't function well in cold climates and the electro dissipator froze and cracked, and soon, because there is no dissipator, it will overload in a matter of minutes. Leia knows that they can't lose Echo Base since they have barely any resources to build a new one. Han heard that the reactor came from a YT-2600, a Corellian freighter which is a little bit more advanced than the Falcon, but they have similar parts and the Falcon's got a spare dissipator that will probably fit on it. He rushes out to get the part, knowing that there is plenty of time and the princess doesn't need to make a big deal out of it, and he doesn't want to give up this place since he kinda likes it there. Leia knows that he hates it there as Han and Chewie race to the reactor with the dissipator. Han says they need to raise the temperature in the room since it will help slow down the meltdown, so Chewie spots some nearby fuel. With no better idea, Han shoots the fuel with his blaster, blowing it up and setting the dump on fire. The fire warms the place up enough for them to get to work, but the thick black smoke makes it impossible to see or breathe. Leia contacts Han, who says that she's gotta leave with the ships now since they screwed this up. Leia wants to wait, but Han tells her to go and leave him to his work. With no other choice, Leia starts up the Falcon and guides them and the other transports away to a minimal safe distance. Leia remembers waiting, knowing that they would either lose Echo Base along with Han Solo and Chewbacca, which would set back the rebellion years, or somehow the incident wouldn't happen thanks to an overconfident smuggler and his Wookiee friend. She knows it didn't seem fair, but there was nothing they could do but wait. Soon Han's voice comes over the radio, telling them that the reactor is now stabilized and the techs better get back in and fix the heating. Kes says that he had no idea about what Han did, knowing only that the reactor went into meltdown, wondering why he never told anyone. Leia says that Han was a smuggler and they are tough people and they never show weaknesses. She knows there is a question there though. Why would she come back to care for someone like Han Solo, someone who is so different? Leia says that it's because he hates the cold and Han spent his entire time at the base complaining about the cold, but he never once left, and over again he fought and risked his life and sacrificed and saved the entire alliance more than once. She knows that he stayed because while he wouldn't admit it, he believes in the cause, and while he's a smuggler because he likes it, Han Solo was a rebel because he was Han Solo, and Han doesn't leave, and that's inspiring to her and to the rebellion. Leia knows that now Han is out there somewhere in the cold as their talk is interrupted by a comms officer who says that Shara is on the line. Leia tells Kes to talk to his wife, so he does, contacting her and learning that she is hiding in one of the many nooks in the Star Destroyer, having set up a small base of operations. The pilot knows that this is her home until she's rescued, but she's also working on slicing into the Imperial systems and she's already obtained some valuable information. She knows any rebel would do the same, wanting to debrief General Organa on it, telling her husband to come and get her soon. Kes promises her that he will as he hands comms over to Leia, who takes the comms and after a moment tells Shara Bey to give her what she's got.